I wonder how many promises have quietly disappeared inside two simple words. Next time. We say them so naturally, almost without thinking. I'll call them next time. I'll apologize next time. I'll finally start next time. I'll make time next week. I'll deal with it later. And every time we say it, something inside us relaxes. Not because anything changed, but because we bought ourselves time. We convince ourselves that it still will change. Maybe that's why those words are so dangerous. They sound so responsible. They sound so patient. They even sound hopeful. But sometimes they are none of those things. Sometimes, next time, is simply the kindest lie we know how to tell ourselves. Welcome back to the Eminence Legacy podcast. I'm Jose Luis Cadena, and this is Midnight Questions, the space where we don't rush past the question that finds us when the world gets quiet. Tonight, I don't want to ask you what you have been putting off. I want to ask you something deeper. What have those two words been protecting you from feeling? Maybe this was never about tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow was simply the hiding place. Because if we are honest, most of us aren't waiting for a better calendar. We are waiting for a different feeling. The conversation isn't difficult because of the time. It's difficult because it might change the relationship. The business isn't waiting because you lack an idea. It's waiting because failure still sounds louder than possibility. Forgiveness isn't delayed because the date isn't right. It's delayed because the wound still feels safer than our vulnerability. The dream isn't sitting on a shelf because life got busy. It's sitting there because trying means finding out what happens if you do not succeed. So we whisper, next time. And strangely, it calms us for a moment because tomorrow asks nothing from us tonight. Have you ever noticed how saying next time can feel almost as satisfying as actually making the change? For a few seconds, your mind relaxes. The pressure disappears and dissipates. The discomfort gets postponed. The fear becomes quieter. Nothing changed. Nothing moved. Nothing healed. But somehow, your heart feels better. Why? Because next time, became an emotional anesthesia, not healing, not courage, not peace, just enough comfort to avoid today's truth. Maybe human beings don't actually postpone actions. Maybe we postpone emotions. The action just happens to be the container the emotion travels in. We postpone embarrassment. We postpone rejection. We postpone grief. We postpone uncertainty. We postpone saying, I was wrong. We postpone saying, I'm afraid. We postpone saying, I need help. And because those emotions are attached to action, we convince ourselves we are waiting for a better time. But maybe we are waiting for a feeling that was never going to leave on its own. Maybe courage was never supposed to arrive after fear. Maybe courage is what finally walks through it. So tonight, do not ask yourself, what have I been putting off? Ask yourself, what feeling have I been protecting? Because underneath almost every next time, there is usually something much older. Fear, shame, control, pride, perfection, disappointment. Sometimes we are not managing a calendar. We are protecting an old wound from being touched again. And if that's true, the calendar was never the problem. There is something beautiful about grace. Grace does not pretend tomorrow is guaranteed. Grace that reminds us that today is still a gift. Not because everything is finished, because something can still begin. Faith has never asked us to control tomorrow. It asked us to be faithful today. One conversation, one apology, one act of obedience, one small step, one honest yes. Sometimes that's all heaven asked from us. Not certainty, just our willingness. So tonight, before you promise yourself another next time, ask yourself 3 quiet questions. What have I been saying next time about? Name it. Without excuses, without explanations. Just tell yourself the truth. Question number 2. What feeling am I hoping will disappear before I act? Is it fear, rejection, failure, embarrassment, grief, shame, control, perfection? Name the feeling, because once fear has a name, it stops pretending to be your schedule. Ask yourself, if tomorrow never felt easier, what would courage look like today? Not perfection, not finishing, just beginning. Tonight, before you close your eyes, finish this sentence. I've been saying next time because I'm afraid of. Fill in the blank. Write the first honest answer. Do not edit it. Do not explain it. Do not fix it. Just tell yourself the truth. Sometimes healing begins the moment fear loses the ability to hide behind tomorrow. Maybe this episode was never about time. Maybe it was always about truth, because tomorrow has carried enough promises. Maybe today deserves one. If this episode found you tonight, do not let it become a temporary visit. If you're listening to this on a web browser or a link, maybe someone texted you this link. Don't let this be a temporary visit. Hit follow right now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. See, legacy builders do not just visit truth, they stay connected to it. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, someone who's been hiding behind next time, send this to them, not to pressure them, to remind them they are not alone. Maybe life isn't asking you how many next times you have left. Maybe it's asking how many truths you've been postponing behind those two words. Tomorrow isn't where we hide our schedule. It is where we often hide our fears. So do not spend tonight counting how many tomorrows you might receive. Spend it asking what today's courage has been waiting to hear. This is the Eminence Legacy Podcast. This is Midnight Questions. I'm Jose Luis Cadena. Have a peaceful night. And remember, the questions that visit you at midnight aren't trying to steal your peace. They are trying to return you to yourself. Together, let's rise to our eminence. Catch you on the next one.